Gauri Brahmandi. All glories to the Sum of the bodies, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Aknanatimirandasha, Gananjana Shalakaya, Chakshurun Milita Mina, Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam, Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vanchakalpaturubhyascha kripa sindhubhyareva cha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudevaya. Samyak vidharyatam bhalo Guru gehe dvichatibihi Vishnu pakshai patichanair Nabhidhyetasya dhiryata. Hari. Samya vidharyakam bhalo Guru kehe dvijatibihi. Mothers, Samya vidharyatam bhalo Dvijatibihi Vishnu pakshai pratichanayar Nabhidhyeta sadhiryata. Samyak, completely, vidaryatam, let him be protected, balaha, this boy of tender age, guru gehe, in the Gurukula, the place where children are sent to be instructed by the Guru. Dvijatibihi, by Brahmanas, Vishnu pakshai, who are on the side of Vishnu, pratichanai, disguised in different dresses, na bidhyeta, may not be influenced, asya, of him, the intelligence, yata, so that. Hiranyakashipu, translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation, Hiranyakashipu advised his assistants, my dear demons, give complete protection to this boy at the Gurukula, where he is instructed, so that his intelligence will not be further influenced by Vaishnavas, who may go there in disguise. Purport, in our Krishna consciousness movement, the tactic of dressing oneself like an ordinary karmi is necessary, because everyone in the demoniac kingdom is against the Vaishnava teachings. Krishna consciousness is not at all to the liking of the demons of the present age. As soon as they see a Vaishnava dressed in saffron garments with beads on his neck and tilak on his forehead, they are immediately irritated. They criticize the Vaishnavas sarcastically, saying Hare Krishna, and some people also chant Hare Krishna sincerely. In either case, since Hare Krishna is absolute, whether one chants it jokingly or sincerely, it will have its effect. The Vaishnavas are pleased when the demons chant Hare Krishna, because it shows that the Hare Krishna movement is taking ground, in their heart at least. The greater demons, so the ordinary demons is everyone, the greater demons, like Hiranyakashipu, are always prepared to chastise the Vaishnavas, and they try to make arrangements so that Vaishnavas will not come to sell their books and preach Krishna consciousness. Thus, what was done by Hiranyakashipu long, long ago is still being done. That is the way of materialistic life. Demons or materialists do not at all like the advancement of Krishna consciousness, and they try to hinder it in many ways. Yet, the preachers of Krishna consciousness must go forward in their Vaishnava dress or any other dress for the purpose of preaching. Chanakya Pandit says that if an honest person deals with a great cheater, it is necessary for him to become a cheater also. Not for the purpose of cheating, but to make his preaching successful. Srila Prabhupada ki Jaya. So Hiranyakashipu had asked his son what was the best of all subject matters he was learning in school. Prahlad Maharaj gave a very learned, devotional reply. So Hiranyakashipu didn't take it too seriously. As such, he didn't fault his son for speaking Vaishnava philosophy. Rather, he's like, all right, he went to school, he's been contaminated. We also say like that. The devotees are going to school and they're being contaminated. Different types of intelligence here. So he's been contaminated by the association of devotees. So now he's telling the teachers that this young boy, Balaha, this young boy, give him samyak vidharyatam, give him complete protection. From what? From Vaishnavas. Just like we consider the non-devotees a satsanga, they consider us a satsanga. Samyak vidharyatam balo, give this young boy complete protection. Guru gehe, in this Gurukula, which is meant to be taught by brahmanas such as yourself. Vishnu Pakshai Pratinchanar, then he says, these enemies, Vishnu Pakshai means those who are on the side of Vishnu. So our enemies are those who are on the side of Vishnu. Pratinchanar, they are dressing up in disguise and influencing the boys there. So Nabi Dieta Asya Dhiryata. So you give him complete protection so that his intelligence will not be influenced by those cheating Vaishnavas. Understand? Vishnu Pakshai Pratinchana. In other words, they're being duplicitous, they're dressing up and not showing themselves as Vaishnavas. And in this way, they're coming to influence the intelligence of these young boys. So you stop that. You make sure you give them complete protection. So Prabhupada's purport is saying that generally when people see Vaishnavas, they become immediately irritated if they're dressed as devotees. Just like sometimes I'm traveling on a train and I wear ordinary clothes but I put tilak on the face. Then immediately irritation is coming. People are giving weird stare. Why are you pushing your religion on me? Even though I didn't say anything, but just by dressing like that, they feel some irritation sometimes is coming. Why are you being aggressive, pushing your religion on me? So sometimes devotees have to dress up in order to get an opportunity to preach to the demons. So in the purport, Prabhupada says there's two types of demons, the ordinary demons and the greater demons. So the ordinary demons is everyone. If you're born as a conditioned soul, you're a demon. A demon Prabhupada describes as one who is prepared to do anything for his sense gratification. So that's a pretty broad statement. Does it sound like we might fit the criteria? One who's prepared to do anything for his sense gratification. That's called a demon. So that's an ordinary demon. So everyone is basically a demon. But then there are the greater demons who would actually try to persecute the Vaishnavas. So because of that, or create obstacles in their preaching to the ordinary demons. So because of that, the devotees may dress in a way by which they can at least get a chance to interact, knowing that if persons just get the opportunity to hear this, they will be eternally benefited. So whatever is necessary to give that benefit, devotees are prepared to do, whether that means dressing like a devotee or not dressing like a devotee. The main thing is giving people the opportunity to hear. Srila Prabhupada has often said that the Krishna consciousness movement was created to give people the opportunity to hear. That is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. Nitya siddha Krishna prema, sadhu kabunoi, shravanade shuddha chitte, karaya udoi. This verse says that Krishna prema is eternal and perfect, but unfortunately, it is not available in this material world, sadhu kabunoi. However, Shravanade Shuddha Chitte. If people purify themselves by what? By the process of Shravana Adi. Shravana means hearing, etc. That which follows after the hearing means kirtan and so on. Then Karaya Udoi. They will have the potential to obtain that rare Krishna prema. So to be, a well-wisher of someone. We're supposed to be well-wishers of the society and well-wishers of one another. To be a well-wisher of someone means to contribute to their highest potential. Tasma gurum prapadeta jignasu shreya uttamam. This Bhagavatam verse says, therefore one should accept a guru and inquire from the guru about what? Shreya uttamam. Shreya uttamam means about his highest potential as a living entity. There's shreyas and prayas. Prayas means immediate welfare, how to eat, how to sleep, how to get a girl or a guy, period. Doesn't go much further than that. It's called prayas, immediate sense gratification. And then shreya means ultimate welfare. So one is to accept the guru for what reason? Shreya. What about shreya uttama? Jignasu shreya uttama. Jignasu means what? To inquire. That's the purpose of, to get an opportunity to inquire about our highest potential as a living entity. You understand? So be a well-wisher of someone means to contribute to their highest potential as a living entity. And what is that highest potential? Krishna prema. Krishna prema. Nitya siddha Krishna prema. Sadhu kabunoi. That is their highest potential as living entity, is to obtain Krishna prema, especially in this particular age of Kali. So how can you contribute to their highest welfare? Their highest potential is to get Krishna prema. Krishna prema. That is their highest potential as a living entity. So how can you contribute to a living entity's highest potential as a living entity? Give them an opportunity to hear. Shravanade Shuddha Chitte Karaya. Only if they purify their being by Shravanam, etc., will they be able to obtain this rarely obtained gift of Krishna Prema. So that means, since that's the only way their inner being can be purified, by which they can manifest their highest potential, or by which their highest potential can be realized, then to be a well-wisher of someone means to give them an opportunity to hear about Krishna. So sometimes when we dress as devotees, that because the mind is inherently demoniac by nature, that may create an obstacle in their hearing. So we may dress as ordinary karmis, Prabhupada is saying. Why? To remove that obstacle, to give them an opportunity to hear. You understand? So whatever it takes to give them an opportunity to hear, then that's what a devotee's, and that's how his thinking will be situated. What is it going to take to get them an opportunity to hear? And of course, hearing means ultimately hearing about Vishnu. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vishnu. Or Krishna. Not Shravanam, Kirtanam, vegetarianism, or veganism, the importance of being psychoanalyzed, or the importance of even such topics as farm communities and so on. These things are very important also, don't mistake me. But the point is that people have to get an opportunity to hear about Krishna if they're going to be able to realize their highest potentials of entity. So whatever it takes for someone to be able to hear, then we'll do like that. And also, as well-wishers of one another, that means that we will speak only about topics of Krishna, Christian philosophy, to contribute to one another's welfare. Or, because the hearing process requires a lot of elements. For example, in order to hear, we discussed from the Bhagavad Gita, 4 things are generally required. Number 1, mind and sense control is required, isn't it? So we create an environment by which we learn to gain control of our mind and senses by living a mode of goodness life. That means coming in the morning program and other such activities. Then indifference to matter is also required to hear nicely. Otherwise, the messages of the Bhagavatam especially are meant to engender renunciation. So if you have a deep attachment to matter, you will not be able to appreciate anything. So there needs to be indifference. This is mentioned from Chandogya Upanishad. Second thing is required is indifference towards matter. So how do you get indifference towards matter? You got to hear it being criticized. And also simultaneously hear the glories of spiritual. That way you gain greater and greater indifference towards matter. Then there should be tolerance of duality, such as heat and cold. Otherwise you can't hear. Just like if it's too hot or it's too cold, your whole consciousness will be stolen by that you won't hear anything. Just like in India, you'll see. India is very hot, summertime. Most of the time it's very hot. And so when you have to go for hearing, you always look for the place where the fan is. And you can't sit down and hear unless you're under the fan, you know. You're like, Prabhu, can you scoot over a little bit? You know, the class would have already started. You're like, slide over a little bit. You know, just so you can hear. Otherwise, and then if you can't get under the fan, then the whole class you're irritated. You know, you're not able to appreciate. That's a simple example. So you need that also, tolerance of duality. And then the 4th thing mentioned is faith. You need faith in the speaker, otherwise can't hear. So then, because these things are required to hear properly Krishna consciousness, then to contribute to one another's welfare means to also assist one in these things. Okay, you might not want to hear from me because you don't have faith in me as a speaker. No problem. Of course, we're living in the community, so we have at least a standard we should come and practice hearing from each other. But then finally, if you find someone that you have faith in, then you can be encouraged. You hear from that source only. Whatever it takes for you to hear about Krishna. If you're not able to hear about Krishna from me effectively, then you hear about Krishna from that person in whom you have faith. And that way, we contribute to each other's welfare. So sometimes the devotees will be coming in disguise. Why go in disguise? Give people opportunity to hear. Any questions? Comments? I could move on. But yeah, Jordan.
Do you think it's best to wear normal clothes when we're going out, or to wear dhoti, tilak?
I'm really indifferent. Whatever a devotee feels comfortable wearing, I say, you know, on a personal level, whatever you feel comfortable wearing, because in order to express yourself to others, you have to be comfortable with yourself. So if you feel very comfortable in Vaishnava dress and you don't feel that then that confidence will come out when you're speaking to them, and probably won't create much obstacle with the ordinary demons, at least, the ordinary sense gratifiers. But if you feel more comfortable wearing pant and t-shirt, then wear pant and t-shirt. Okay, that's when we're going outside in temple. We have some standards there, at least for the morning time. But I don't say anything is better or worse. Per the discussion in my class, whatever helps people to hear. So if you, and somehow out there in your vision of things, when I'm dressed as a devotee, that's creating an impediment for people to hear, then you might not dress as a devotee as such, because you see that's creating an obstacle in their hearing. So as per the discussion, whatever it takes to give people the opportunity to hear, then we might adjust ourselves accordingly. I sometimes, on a personal level, like to do far out things because it creates an impression, whether good or bad. it creates an impression that won't leave them so easily. And for me, that is also success. Just like one time, one Muslim at DePaul University, he was like kind of like a friend, a well-wisher. He would often come talking to me, but when I would be speaking to others about Krishna, he was always interjecting with all sorts of speculations. So it was really irritating me one time he was doing it because I was trying to speak to someone who was favorable. So I was speaking this, that, and he couldn't understand what I was saying. He was speculating. So I told him, I said, the reason you can't understand is because you eat meat. And those who eat meat cannot understand God. And he was furious, and I was happy. That he was mad for me for like a month, Every time he would see me on the street after that, he would, be chastising me or speaking. But at least I knew that he heard it. He didn't like it, but he heard it. And so for me, sometimes that is also good. Just like Prabhupada has sometimes said that we're not, our speaking is not meant for pleasing the nonsense public. That doesn't mean we go out and try to purposely irritate them or displease them. But the idea is that naturally the truth pinches. Just like you've seen some movies, tell me the truth. You can't handle the truth, the truth actually is irritating. It pinches. So generally, in a sort of dispassionate way, you may just speak about Krishna, and sometimes that would create positive impressions or negative impressions, and so also with the speaking, so also with the dress. Sometimes I like dressing like a devotee because that creates an impression, positive or negative. Or sometimes if you feel it's an impediment, you may not dress like that, but there is no rule, and that's what Prabhupada is saying here in the purport. In any way you dress. The purpose is to give people the opportunity to hear about Krishna. Okay? Yeah, anything else? Jitendra Prabhu, Justin Prabhu.
Remember Srila Prabhupada, the devotees told him, they said, they don't like our chanting. Prabhupada says, it doesn't matter what they like, it's what Krishna likes. Do you remember that?
No, but yeah, it makes sense. Prabhupada's saying here in the purport that sometimes they chant, how does he put it? They criticize the Vaishnavas sarcastically saying, Hare Krishna, like that. He said. They criticize the Vaishnavas by sarcastically saying Hare Krishna. And also some people chant sincerely. But either way, we got them. Just like sometimes we dress as a devotee and someone, Hare Krishna, and we like, joke's on you. Now your devotional service has begun, unbeknownst to you. So I often, when people joke like that, when I see like we're on Hari now and people are like kind of joking around, chanting, I always think like, got you. Got you, like that. Either way, there is some benefit from chanting the holy names of Krishna. Justin?
Hare Krishna. So on the point of like, do whatever it takes to get them to hear, sometimes this translates over into do whatever it takes to get them a Prabhupada book. So what's your opinion on the by hook or by crook statement?
We learned that a crook is a type of tool. We learned this from Mother Donna Kay like a couple of years back. So by hook, and hook is another type of tool. So by this tool or by that tool, you try to give a book. It doesn't mean by hook or just do something crooked. And then, so that was enlightened. I didn't know that actually. I thought a crook meant like, you do something crooked and you get them to hear. But Mother Donna Kay, she enlightened us that a crook is a type of tool. So by this tool or by that tool, you get them a book, which is the same message today. By this method or by somehow that they have to hear. But Prabhupada is saying in the purport, he says here, if an honest person deals with a great cheater, it is necessary for him to become a cheater also. Not for the purpose of cheating, but to make his preaching successful. So, for example, using the book distribution, since that's the one you gave, you might tell them, this is a book on yoga and meditation, which is vague, but and broad, so it's true. It could be true. And it helps you to get free from stress. Now that's a little bit of a stretch. Of course, you could say ultimately it helps you to get free from stress, Just like we say chant and be happy, and I always say we should edit that and put chant ... and be happy, because in between chanting and being happy, there's the stage of anartha-nivritti and so on. And so initially they might not find the process of yoga as we're propagating in our books to be a happy one. And just like this book, Perfection of Yoga, have any of you ever read that book, Perfection of Yoga? Prabhupada is so heavy. First of all, he's not talking about anything like contemporary yoga, or at least the way the word yoga is thought of in the modern world. Not even close. Like we have this picture of Bharat Maharaj, praying the Surya Narayana. So it looks like very much like a Ashtanga yogi sort of feel. So you distribute this book and people think that's what they're getting. And we know that also. We know that's what they think like that. And then when they read it, Prabhupada's talking about this yoga school is nonsense, that yoga school is nonsense. If you think you can get spiritual life without Krishna, you're nonsense. Like real heavy, and so it's a kind of cheating in a sense, because we know how they think of the word yoga, and we don't explain ourselves. We leave it vague on purpose, ambiguous on purpose, so that they will take the book, because they're benefited by taking the book. And sometimes they may not read the book, but someone else will be reading that book, and they're benefited in that way. I came to Christian consciousness because my mother took a book some 10 plus years before I was born. She never read it, I read it. So sometimes the books are not always for the persons we're giving them to. They're meant for others. And that way it is always auspicious that a book is going out. So we purposely say things a little vague. It's kind of like a type of cheating. What Prabhupada is saying here, when an honest person deals with a great cheater, it is necessary for him to become a cheater also. Not for the purpose of cheating, but to make his preaching successful and to bring auspiciousness to those entities. So I say that overall, that is a good thing. When you look from the absolute perspective. Sometimes, relatively speaking, I don't think devotees should do things intentionally very crooked. And I often say, even for book distributors, because we want to make our preaching successful. So then that has to also be defined. What does it mean to have successful preaching? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was happy if even one magazine went out. So what does it mean to have successful preaching? So that might have to be defined, and that may be defined differently by different Vaishnavas. But one thing I've been saying recently, thinking of recently, is that on book distribution, when we say this is about yoga and meditation, it helps you get free from stress, it's like a quick thing and it helps you get the book out, so that is successful. And oftentimes, anyone who's been trained up in book distribution, I was trained up in book distribution, and there's a sign on the wall here also. Srila Prabhupada said, what will your 2 minutes of preaching do? Better you give them a book. So I used to spend at least 10 minutes, minimum, 10, 15 minutes with everyone I met on book distribution, and the devotee who trained me up, he would blast me every time. What will your 2 minutes of preaching do? And I say, maybe your 2 minutes of preaching doesn't do anything, but my 2 minutes of preaching is good. But good for who? Good for me. It may not be always, so try to get the book out, because that's his book. They're hearing his kirtan, and they'll be benefited. But I means talking about Krishna. So it doesn't just mean when we're in the temple chanting Harinam, that's okay. So that is the Yuga Dharma. But then when we're not doing the Yuga Dharma, you're talking. So what are you speaking? So then you have to also do kirtan. And generally, somehow, the devotees don't tend to do kirtan with each other in the temple, which is a fault. They don't talk about Krishna so much. We talk about how the prasadam is tasting and other sorts of things, the weather. And then when we go outside, we feel the obligation to speak about Krishna to some degree. We're distributing books, let's say. That time, one should do a little kirtan. And I find that to be very important for elevating our own consciousness. In other words, presenting the book on the merit of the book, exactly. And just telling very straightforwardly what the book is about. You may distribute less books, but your consciousness will be benefited. Otherwise, if you want to just stick to getting the book out as quick as possible and you keep it ambiguous, which is a type of cheating, from an absolute perspective, that can't be faulted. People are benefited in that way. Yeah.
So, one type of hearing may give you an initial attraction in Krishna consciousness. For a very new person, just a very basic message about how he's not this body, something like that, will be sufficient to get him through the door and sit and participate in what we have to offer. And you spoke very eloquently about what are the qualifications of a good listener. But I'm wondering, to actually bring out or to extract from the heart of a conditioned living entity his highest potential requires perhaps a different kind of hearing. And if you could please speak a little bit about the qualifications of a good speaker, specifically one who is qualified to extract the highest potential of a living entity. Is that possible?
Well, I quoted the verse, Tasma Gurun Prapadyeta Jignasu Shre Uttama. So this is on the side of the hearer. Tasma means therefore. Therefore, after appreciating the futility of material life, that's the context in which the verse appears. Therefore, after appreciating the futility of material life, Guru Prapadyeta, he should take shelter of a guru. And Jignasu Shre Uttama, he should be inquisitive about his highest potential as a living entity. He's a researcher into the absolute truth, Prabhupada's language, in 1-10. So he's serious about investigation to the truth. So that's the side of the hearer. And on the side of the speaker, the guru, Shabda Pare Chanishnatam Brahmani Upashamashrayam. So Shabda means the Shabda Brahman, it means the Vedic literatures. And Pare means experience of those Vedic literatures because of his applying the process of Krishna consciousness. So he should be having, expansive understanding of the Vedic literature and experience of that understanding through his practices of Krishna consciousness. Brahmani Upashamashrayam means, as such, he will not be charmed by anything material. So these are like the generic qualities mentioned in the Bhagavatam for a person who's speaking. He should speak on the authority of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. He should be, intense practitioner of Krishna consciousness, by which he's gaining more and more experience of Krishna. And as such, he's not charmed by the material world. He's detached from matter. So these are the generic characteristics mentioned of the speaker. Now, different types of, I always like to say there's a sadhu for everyone. Sometimes I wonder if Srila Vyasadeva were to give class, how many of us would appreciate it? The author of the Bhagavatam. His class would be so refined, and we're so under-refined that, I imagine if Vyasadeva was speaking, we would just be like, having very hard time hearing, because it's very rare. You see the language of the Bhagavatam. Just like the Bhagavatam, you read the verses, you don't know what's going on. So Vyasadeva will be speaking like that, very difficult. And so then the sadhus are always necessary for giving us access to the spiritual sound, vibration. Because directly we may have a hard time doing it. So I always say there's a sadhu for everyone. So every sadhu may not be able to speak to our heart in a particular sort of way. Even though he may be extremely advanced, we may not be able to appreciate how the presentation, for whatever reasons, blockages in our heart, and somehow that we don't resonate, whereas we're with another sadhu who is also equally advanced, there's resonance. So then we will hear from that one with faith. We may hear from everyone, but we'll hear specifically from that particular Vaishnava, Guru Maharaj should say, Srila Prabhupada, with a lot more faith than we may hear from ordinary sadhus. That is natural. So the generic qualities are given as such, but there may be many sadhus with those qualities. Still, every sadhu won't be able to speak to us in the same way. Another point mentioned by Jiva Goswami, which usually helps people to hear effectively, or more effectively, is mentioned by Lord Chaitanya to Sanatana Goswami also. Swajatiya Ashaye Shnigte, that the sadhu one is hearing from, particularly Shnigte means he has some specific affection for us on an individual level. And so because of experiencing that, he says if the sadhus are just like neutral, then the hearer will never develop attachment for the speaker. So he says Shnigde means that, this is Lord Chaitanya speaking to Sanatana Goswami. You feel a specific sort of affection from that sadhu. That also engenders a lot more of faith, provided he's stopped doing so on. So in this way, you're saying what will help bring out a person's, it depend on these factors. Their own spirituality, their own understanding of the Shastra, and their particular affection for us, that will be helpful also. In this way, you will get an opportunity to hear. Any other question? Comment? Concern? No? On this side? Okay. I'm going to end to that early. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya.
complex. There are two air pumps and the generator. So I'll maybe some part of the day I'll work with some projects. minutes are left on the panel. We'll see that tiny questions or down.
Lordships, be short and short is